on the India development debate tonight. Let's have a green Diwali in the National Capital Region this season. Rules the country's top court in a surprise move. The Supreme Court reinstates the ban on sale of firecrackers to the 1st of November. Justifies the move, saying the temporary ban will help assess the situation better.
Relief for 11 convicts in the Godhra training burning case. The Gujarat High Court commutes their death sentence to rigorous life imprisonment, even as capital punishment for 20 others is upheld. The High Court also confirms the acquittal of 63 other accused.
Battleground Gujarat heats up a day after Prime Minister Modi's visit. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi lands up in Modi's bastion, seeks the Prime Minister's explanation on the alleged graft charges against BJP Chief Amit Shah's son Jai Shah. Also slams the central government for its unwillingness to listen to the people of the country.
The Delhi High Court looks to trace foreign political funding in India, grants the central government 6 months to look into the books of accounts of all political parties, including the BJP and the Congress, reminds that this could be the one last opportunity to comply with its 2014 judgment, barring foreign contributions.
A day of wild fluctuations on the Dalal Street. The Sensex ends the day with marginal gains, even as the Nifty fails to hold on to the 10,000 mark despite early gains. Traders turn nervous ahead of earnings season. Experts say IIP numbers and inflation data will play a crucial role in setting the market tone in the coming days.
India's energy security is in focus as Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets top bosses of Indian and foreign oil companies. The multinational delegation is led by Saudi Aramco's chief Amin Nasser, BP CEO Bob Dudley and Rosneft's top boss Igor Seshen. India's oil tycoons Mukesh Ambani and Anil Agarwal also in attendance.
And movement of goods takes a big hit as over 93 lakh truckers and transporters go on a 36-hour-long strike protesting disruptive policies under the goods and services tax. Also want inclusion of diesel under GST net. The strike is expected to hit supply of crucial commodities including food items.
It certainly will be a Diwali without the dhamaka, at least in the National Capital Region. The Supreme Court today put a complete ban on sale of firecrackers in the Delhi NCR, 10 days before Diwali, that is. While environmentalists are indeed celebrating, the order has created a vertical divide, with many questioning the judicial overreach of the top court. And some others argue that the move is a clear infringement of one's rights to celebrate religious festivals.
But one can't miss the economics of the order. At stake are thousands of jobs in Sivakasi, the little hamlet in Tamil Nadu, which is often referred to as the firecracker capital of the nation. Back of the envelope calculations suggest the industry could lose well over 1,000 crore rupees. The supporters of the ban, however, argue that considering the plight of children and seniors in and around Delhi, the financial cost is minuscule. While the jury is still out, the Supreme Court ban has sparked a massive debate. And that's what we're talking about on the India development debate. This evening, we debate the Cracker Crackdown. I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy in Mumbai. Joining me in Delhi is Supriya Srinath.
No firecrackers this Diwali for people of Delhi and the National Capital Region, which includes Ghaziabad, Gurgaon, Noida and Faridabad. The thick smog overhead after last Diwali that scared the capital will be a thing of the past as the Supreme Court today banned sale of firecrackers in and around the national capital. In a surprise decision, the Apex Court bench headed by Justice A.K. Sikri resuspended firecracker licenses just 4 weeks after allowing sale for Dashara and Diwali festivals. The court also asked the people to celebrate an eco-friendly Diwali this season.
Supreme Court has said that its last year's order of 11th November banning the sale of firecrackers in Delhi will continue to take effect till 31st of October 2017. That means all temporary and permanent licenses in Delhi to sell firecrackers immediately stand suspended forthwith, is what the Supreme Court has made very clear.
Just last month, the bench headed by Justice Madan B. Lokur revived firecracker licenses after 10 months suspension with festivals round the corner. However, the new bench felt that the positive effect of the ban imposed last year should be allowed to take effect for studying Delhi air quality without firecrackers. The pollution level in Delhi reaches a new high each year after Diwali, making it difficult for children and elderly to breathe. However, the sudden change in stance has put several traders in Delhi NCR in a fix, as they have stocked firecrackers for sale in the upcoming days, and almost 50 lakh tons of unsold inventory is stocked across the NCR.
अगर ये दिवाली के बाद रोक लगा देते तो बहुत बढ़िया होता।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला एकदम गलत और बिल्कुल ही बेबुनियाद है। अगर इन्होंने पटाखा बैन ही करना था तो पटाखा खोला क्यों था? हमें लाइसेंस इशू क्यों किए थे?
While several environment conscious people have welcomed the reinstatement of the ban, there are others who call it a judicial overreach. Some have even said that this will lead to religious polarization, and many have raised eyebrows about the impact the move will have on job losses and capital erosion. According to some estimates, Sivakasi, that produces nearly 85% of all firecrackers sold in India and employs 8 lakh people, will see losses to the tune of 1,000 crore. For now, there is no ban on bursting of crackers. It will be quite a difficult task to implement this court order. At ET Now, we ask, will this order ease the health hazard, or is it a case of judicial overreach? Should this be looked at through a communal prism at all? And who will compensate for unsold inventory? And can India afford more job losses at all? Watch India Development Debate. Arun Nayal, ET Now, New Delhi.
We've got a cracker of a panel here, all pun intended. Kanchan Gupta, eminent commentator and columnist. So is Madhavan Narayanan, who's joining us here. We've got Soli Sorabji, former Attorney General of India. We've got Raja Singh Challadarai, the MD of Jumbo Fireworks, who joins us from Sivakasi, the heart and what we call the capital, the fireworks capital of India. We've got Pinky Anand, Additional Solicitor General, and Saurabh Hasin, Partner Trilegal. So thanks each one of you for being with us on the show this evening. And I'm going to really begin on the statistics. And let me just throw some statistics and then come to my viewers. Statistics are indeed very alarming because pollution level in Delhi almost doubled to levels of PM 2.5, which is really an indicator. I'm not going to get into the jargon. The pollution pre-Diwali was 240. It went up to levels of 447 post-Diwali, the evening of Diwali and the week thereafter. Yes, of course, it was due to crop burning, and it must have also been due to slow winds, but one can't deny the role of crackers. Mr. Kanchan, if I may ask you, WHO standards also is just 25. Our average standard is at 60 on any given day. Can we ignore those statistics, because those are indeed very alarming?
There are two parts to it. One is
there are two parts to it. One is the sheer activism that has gone into securing, or rather reimposing, this ban, and the other is how to deal with pollution in Delhi NCR. Now, there are enough studies. We don't really need to go to the WHO. IIT Delhi has a full study on this as to what causes pollution in Delhi. And one of the biggest contributors, apart from crop stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana, is the dust from construction sites. Now, we have not tried to control those aspects of it. The Supreme Court has shown no courage whatsoever in ensuring that the governments of Haryana and Punjab impose a total ban, an absolute ban on stubble burning. But the easy route has been taken to reimpose the ban that was lifted just a few weeks ago on the sale of crackers in Delhi and NCR. And that too, the ban coincides with Diwali. If the Supreme Court had been really honest and sincere about measuring the impact of crackers on Delhi NCR's pollution levels, they would have waited for Diwali to get over and done it at a time when pollution levels are really high and alarming. So this is one part of it is judicial activism and overreach, and the other part is the economics of it, but the social dynamics of it cannot be ignored either.
Debate all of that over the course of this program. Madhavan Narayanan, you you're for the ban. You believe the court has taken the right decision. But to pick up on the point that Kanchan Gupta made, that there are various aspects that contribute to, air pollution, to the alarming PM levels, PM 2.5 levels that we saw in Delhi last year. And one of that, road dust, for example, contributes alarmingly to it. Car pollution is also an important factor. How is it that we can ascertain that much of this is on account of firecrackers? How do you apportion the blame to firecrackers? And is this just a case, was this an easy option out for the Supreme Court? That's the view of Kanchan. What's your own sense? Madhavan Narayanan.
Hello, Sandeep. I think, first of all, let's keep our focus today on the title of our program or show, which is India Development Debate. And we are supposed to be talking about rising with ET now. So the whole point is about what we as a country are looking at going forward. Having said that, let's not get too much into technicalities, because let me say at the outset that the Supreme Court is not a policy-making authority. It's not the Cabinet of India. But I think to accuse it of judicial overreach in this case would be inappropriate, because there is an underlying morality that the Supreme Court represents in this case, which has to be borne in mind. I think what we call whataboutery, what about the dust from construction, what about judges flying in business class jets, and what about burning stubbles in Punjab, is not the right attitude to look at this whole debate. This is a development issue that involves public health concerns. It has been around for a long number of years with respected organizations like Center for Science and Environment and IIT weighing in. The whole world is paying lip service to environmental concerns, but environmental issues have become an orphan in the altar of consumerism and cultural assertions. So I think it is important for us to step back a little and view the Supreme Court as an agent of moral suasion. I know that this is a case in which the Supreme Court may be accused of ad hocism or partial or late ban that hurts traders. All those arguments would be valuable or valid in a certain context. But shall we look at the bigger picture? Environmental issues have become orphans in this day and age. We are being run, the United States president is close to being a climate change skeptic. We are talking about, the air hitting elderly and school children day after day. We see news reports, and yet we stand, doing nothing. And it's in the fundamental duties of the Constitution of India. I mean, we have that in the directive principles, and it is possible to look at the Supreme Court, which has handled public interest litigation for about 3 decades or now. It's possible to see the Supreme Court in the light of performing a responsible fundamental duty on behalf of all the citizens, because as a repository of superior knowledge, the Supreme Court has a certain bounden duty to not just judge on case-to-case basis, but also pronounce on larger issues. Please understand that, let me just finish, the Shabanu case was one in which the Supreme Court said something which was considered judicial overreach, and the Congress government even went to reverse a judgment of the Supreme Court. But 3 decades later, we are discussing triple talaq, and some of those issues have come to the public focus in a more positive way. So let's look at the Supreme Court with some more, noble intent.
Okay, I have an entire segment that I'm going to talk about judicial overreach or not, but I'm just going to first get the health hazard out of the way, so to say. I think the panel is vertically divided on whether this is indeed judicial overreach, or have the courts really, or has the government ceded space on legislation. But Pinky, Anand, let me come to you. The problem at hand is firecracker. There is no denying that, the fact that there is pollution that comes from vehicle. In fact, we have a chart that shows that large sources of pollution are vehicular pollution. Pollution comes from industries. Pollution comes from construction. It also comes, one 1% of air pollution actually comes from cremation, which is a practice that nobody can question because it's so sacrosanct. Actually, crackers don't make it to that pie, and even then they're being made the bad guys today. There is no denying that the air is extremely toxic to breathe in, especially in and after Diwali. Be it any city, Delhi perhaps is the worst affected. The average lifespan in a city like Delhi gets reduced by 6 years, 6.3 years if the statistic is to go by. I'm just asking you, given those statistics, can anybody oppose what the courts have done today? Pinky Anand.
I don't know, you were talking about various statistics, so I don't know which ones you are talking about, which seem to, according to you, to justify the position in question. I mean, there are 2-3 undeniable facts. It is undeniable that there is a health hazard in Delhi. It is undeniable that there is health hazard in NCR as a matter of course. It is undeniable that there are various contributory factors. But the question of fireworks and how much of firecrackers and how much they actually affect pollution is something which is fairly contentious and doesn't seem to be in any manner a major contributor to air pollution, A. B, you talk about essentials. What is essential? What is essential for some people, for some class of people? What is essential in the sense of celebration of religious events or religious functions or any functions for that matter, which people hold sacrosanct as far as they are concerned? What is important is also the right to do business. What is also important is the right to livelihood. In Sivakasi, there are 800 families who are dependent upon making firecrackers, and that's what the figures which had been quoted by PISO and Sivakasi people who come from there. In the backdrop of all this, and considering the sanctity that the festival has for the people of this country and particularly the residents of Delhi and NCR, it seems a little maybe extreme to have stopped the sale of firecrackers just on the eve of Diwali. If it was a high hanging fruit, if it was some major contributor which could have been, it's only utilized for 2 days, 1 or 2 days that you have Diwali, we could have had maybe some restriction in terms of time to have it for a limited period of time. There was already in fact restriction on the fact that only up to certain number of 50,000 tons of firecrackers only would be available and no more. So, if you have certain conditions put into place, it might have been definitely more advisable, possibly desirable rather I would say, for the people of this city and NCR region. I think people are very disappointed. I think people who are engaged in the business of firecrackers are also very badly affected, and it doesn't seem to be very equitable in these circumstances.
Doesn't appear to be an equitable decision, says Pinky. And Saurabh Bhasin, come in on that because you were arguing for the petitioner as well. And the impact of this judgment is far reaching. There are social consequences, economic consequences, which is why it's very tough to take sort of a binary view on this. There are various nuances in this judgment, and we hope to debate all of them over the course of this program. But Saurabh Bhasin, your preliminary remarks to the point that Ms. Pinky Anand made, that this was a far-reaching judgment and it's harsh on the face of it. Your reaction to that, Saurabh Bhasin? Saurabh Bhasin, that was for you. Okay, I think we've lost the line there with Saurabh Bhasin, but we've got Raja Singh Chelladurai, MD of Jumbo Fireworks, someone who's got a skin in the game, who's joining us from Sivakasi. Mr. Chelladurai, thanks for joining us here at ET. Now, Ms. Pinky Anand spoke about the impact that this judgment has on the entire fireworks industry and the impact on livelihood there as well. And we will talk about that in greater detail. But the fact of the matter is that at stake, it's an emotive issue. A lot of people believe that there's nothing that needs to be addressed head on than air pollution. This is a serious issue. This is a serious health hazard, a serious menace. People haven't forgotten last Diwali in the city of Delhi, and they believe that so what if an industry is going to be impacted? So what if some jobs are going to be lost? So what if 1,000 crores of financial impact is going to be impacted? Because at stake is the health of all people living in Delhi, like Madhavan Narayanan pointed out just a short while ago. What would you tell such people, sir, who are concerned about the general quality of air in the city on account of these firecrackers?
Hello?
Mr. Chelladurai, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, indeed, this order by the Supreme Court is indeed very sad, and especially for the children who are going to celebrate this Diwali without any fun. And this decision should have come after Diwali. Then at least the industrialists would have taken some steps. Now the problem is that the dealers and all of them having stocks, and they are not able to sell. They are in a great problem. And if you say this fireworks alone is very it's a polluting product, I wouldn't admit that, because you take cigarettes. It clearly says that smoking causes cancer. Is it sold is it restricted? No. We will say liquor. Liquor is injurious to health, but it is sold throughout the year. It is not, it is regulated but sold. Similarly, this fireworks could have also been regulated in the sales. It should not have been banned. And you know, this fireworks is in our tradition, culture, religion since many, many years. And it is sad the Supreme Court has banned use of fireworks in the city. And I'm very positive that children will be very disappointed, because it is considered to be a toy which is played or used under the supervision of the adults. I don't think even in the US, almost the China is exporting 10,000 containers, and it is being used just on July the 4th. So Diwali is it's fireworks. You see any graphics, any advertisements with fireworks, there is no fun and frolic in Diwali. So I feel the decision by
Mr. Chelladurai, just hold your thoughts there. Okay. Mr. Chelladurai, just hold your thoughts there, because I think I've got Saurav Bhasin back on the line with us. And Saurav, if I may just come to you on this very point that Mr. Chelladurai was making. I don't quite agree with the point on children celebrating Diwali, because it is also a health hazard, and you know, there's already a lot of stink that has already been raised on children who are employed in making these firecrackers. But the other argument that, you know, this should have happened before if it had to happen. Why now? But you know, the whole argument around this issue is that if it is such a big health hazard, why was a call not taken before? Why is a call being taken 10 days before Diwali is coming in? And, you know, I don't know if I agree so much with him on alcohol. Alcohol consumptions just kill the person who's drinking alcohol. Can't say the same about firecrackers. But I'd still want you to quickly come in on the point that, you know, this warning should have come before and not today.
So look, thanks for raising that. The reality is that this warning has been there for many years. The Supreme Court last year in November itself said that there is they put the ban in last year. So it's not as if this warning has come 10 days in advance. It effectively, the modification of the ban in November came in September. So it's only been a 20-day period where this ban wasn't in effect. So I mean, fair warning has been given to all the manufacturers and the traders on the fact that there is this ban. There's this only 20-day period where the ban didn't affect, but so in my mind, there is no question of the fact that this is not a 10-day event. It's been debated for many days, and it's been in place for more than a year, almost a year now actually. And as regards, I mean, I haven't sort of followed the discussion, but with respect to comparing firecrackers to drinking alcohol and cigarettes, it's a completely different thing. It is on a mass scale. It causes mass harm. And there is no way to equate it, and frankly, it's one of the things that we have to do away with for the betterment of our society and the health of our children and our own health.
Okay. Pinky Anand, come in on that. The point about the fact why now, because in the last, even though, you know, Saurav's making the point saying that this has been in the works for a while now, there was an order of the Supreme Court as well, but post that order of the Supreme Court in September, a lot of third-party rights got created, a lot of, you know, investment has been made. There's a large quantity of fireworks that's in the system. People don't know what is going to happen to that. In fact, there's a, you know, astronomical figure of the number of, you know, quantum of firecrackers in the city. What happens to all that? Could this judgment have come in a lot earlier so that these third-party rights don't get created, so that these investments weren't made, and so the financial impact could have been addressed in some form? Pinky Anand.
For sure. I mean, if indeed there is any justification that the order in its entirety should have been passed at any time, then definitely it would have been appropriate to have the order at some earlier stage or at a later stage, so that people could at least plan. After all, people have planned for the functions, the rituals, the celebrations. Investments have been made by people all over the country for this purpose, and not only preparations for actually celebrating it in this fashion. So in all senses, if, as I said, the order had to be passed in its entirety, then an appropriate time would have been some other time. Just on the eve of the festival probably has put people to some hardships which cannot be explained away.
Okay, indeed, it won't be explained away. But let's take into Soli Sarabji. And Mr. Sarabji, you know, many people out there have said that this is a case of judicial overreach. Shouldn't things be done by legislation instead? What's your view on this? Shouldn't legislatures get together and make a law? Why should the judiciary, why should there be a judicial overreach on a matter like this?
The courts are protecting the right to life guaranteed by Article 21. And the right to life means right to live in an environment free of pollution. And if the legislature is not stepping in, the court can't fold its hands and do nothing about it. It is enforcing the citizen's right, a person's right to live a life in a healthy environment, and firecrackers certainly generate an unhealthy environment which is detrimental to health to the person. So I don't think there is any overreach there.
Okay, you don't think there's any overreach, and that's something we're going to debate with our panel. But I want to ask you another quick question on, do you believe this judgment is going to set the stage for similar rulings in other courts across the country? Because what stops someone from filing a petition now in, in Gwalior, in Bhopal, in Chennai, in Mumbai? Do you see this happening, similar petitions across the country, and will the courts now be forced to take cognizance of this order that's coming from the Supreme Court?
It all depends on the facts of each case. Judgment can be applied universally irrespective of facts of each individual case. The principle of the judgment is a person has a right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution, and the right to life does not mean mere physical existence, but a right to life which is in a healthy environment, which is free of pollution, and that's what makes life worth living.
Okay, let me take your point forward with Kanchan Gupta there. And Mr. Gupta, you know, Soli Sarabji says right to life comes bundled in with saving and preserving environment. And that is why it is not a case of judicial overreach, whereas I know you have a very different view on that, don't you?
Yeah. I am not going to get into the area of public health, but because then we would end up contesting data. I have used the same set of data that you have used, and which clearly shows that there is absolutely no evidence which even remotely suggests that firecrackers or the use of firecrackers causes any exponential increase in the pollution levels of the air in Delhi NCR. Now, why do I say judicial overreach? Public health as a policy is the domain of the government of India. It is the domain of the union government. It is the domain of the state governments. So essentially, it is something which the executive deals with. Now, for the judiciary to muscle its way in and decide that it will start deciding what is public health policy or how to go about it is totally unacceptable if you are still believing in the separation of powers. Number two, as far as this specific instance of the ban on the sale of firecrackers in Delhi NCR is concerned, you can't just decide to lift the ban for 20 days, reimpose it, and reimpose it in a manner that it covers the biggest Hindu festival of the country, and then again lift it on the 1st of November. Of course, the court says that there will be 16 sets of restrictions. Now, if you are allowing the sale of firecrackers and their use after the 1st of November, with a set of 16 restrictions. You bring in those restrictions now. Why do you want to wait till the 1st of November? Therefore, the question arises, the aspect of the social impact of this order arises, and to deny that would be silly. The last point that I would like to make, and I had briefly touched on this earlier, that increasingly we find judicial overreach into areas that are that can cause a certain amount of contention, of conflict, and it's best left undisturbed. Now, you mentioned that the data set that you have shows that about a percentage point of pollution is contributed by cremation of Hindu dead bodies. Now, tomorrow the court, I mean, just theoretically speaking, somebody could go to court and say that this causes me discomfort, it causes me breathing discomfort, it is a public health issue. So does the Supreme Court then impose a ban on cremating Hindu dead bodies? Can the same logic be used at that point of time? After all, I mean, as I said, that there is nothing to substantiate that firecrackers add any considerable or a huge amount of pollution, just like cremating dead bodies does not add a huge amount of pollution. And lastly, I mean, where do we end? This year we have got the courts to impose a ban, and frankly, I don't think bans have any place in a democracy. It has to be part of policy. There have to be controls. Yes, that is what governments are there for. Therefore, that they have certain controls, they have certain restrictions, that there is no damage caused to the larger good. Yes, of course. But to just go and impose a ban, and for every problem in our country, we just try and get a ban imposed.
Kanchan Gupta, I get your point. Let me get in Madhavan Narayanan and comment on that point. On the larger point of judicial overreach, Soli Sarabji says that there's nothing greater than right to life, and so you cannot see it from the prism of judicial overreach. And of course, Kanchan Gupta is making a point saying that bans are clearly not the solution. And one could also argue, Madhavan Narayanan, that this judicial overreach, if you were to call it judicial overreach, is because of a vacuum created, lack of policy action. The fact that this is something that should have been fixed by the executive powers of this country hasn't happened, and so the court has stepped in, like we've seen in similar other instances. So the vacuum was created for the court to intervene. Do you agree with that assessment, Madhavan Narayanan?
Yes, Sandeep, you're pretty close to the truth. Let's go back to the introduction of CNG buses in Delhi under Sheila Dikshit when she was the Chief Minister. Let's face it, it's not the Supreme Court or any court just overreaching itself. We have reached an ugly state of democracy where competitive populism and trader lobbies and business lobbies are overbearing on the society in general and voters also. In that, who is going to uphold larger issues such as environmental protection? So the first duty of the Supreme Court is to uphold the Constitution itself, and the right to life is a nobler, higher goal than short-term business losses. Let's face it, these traders who are affected, although I agree that this is not the perfect way to do it, the fact is that fireworks are not a perishable item. They can keep it in their inventories. Secondly, nothing stopped the government for the past 1 year to intervene proactively to come out with public policy. So like in the case of the CNG buses in Delhi, which came through a long drawn process involving court hearings. In fact, the government chose to, the way I see it is that the government chose to fire its own bullets over the judiciary's shoulders in that case, because it's easier for, in this age of populism, for the governments to plead helplessness, point to the courts and then frame policy and action rather than boldly show political will, because we have reached a stage of spineless environmental administration. You know, anything considered to be good for environment is seen bad for business, while we are going through a demographic transition. 1 billion people, come on, we are transitioning to higher consumption. This requires a great amount of a sense of greater common good. And let me also just add that what Mr. Chelladurai said about liquor and smoking, the analogy does not apply properly here. First of all, smoking in public places is already banned in Delhi, and the analogy of drinking while driving is more appropriate, because driving while you're drunk is not a public health issue. Similarly, when firecrackers go up in Diwali and add to the pollution, it is a public health issue. Last but not the least, let me add that the emission levels should not be seen in overall aggregated yearly terms. During the particular week of Diwali, the emissions tend to peak. The Supreme Court has a right to recognize that.
No, can I just intervene for half a second?
Can
I just intervene for half a second, if you don't mind, before I forget the points? See, this is totally, I mean, a data-free assertion that the pollution exactly on the night of Diwali or the days following Diwali shoots up. So we do not have segregated data to bear out this contention. Number two, as far as right to life is concerned, we have had the same judiciary when tanneries were shut down along the Ganges. The judiciary intervened and imposed a stay order and gave a stay order because they said that right to livelihood overrides somebody else's right to life. So, you know, there is a problem, and we should recognize.
No, actually, Mr. Gupta, we've got an entire segment that we want to cover on livelihood. What happens to jobs? What happens to investments that have been made? What happens to inventory that's lying? And I'm going to come to you on all of that in just a bit, but just want to get the politics of it out of the way. And Soli Sorabji, let me come to you. You know, there are some people who are seeing this through the communal prism. People who say this is a big Hindu festival. Why take crackers out of this? This is how it was done. They are saying if you're going to ban crackers during Diwali, then be prepared to ban Christmas trees during Christmas or the sacrificial goat during Bakrid. What would you say to this?
How does sacrifice of goats affect the environment? The two things are not the same. And I don't think there's any point in bringing a religious question about it and making a religious divide. As I told you, you have to see the facts of each case and judge the impact of the extent of the activity on the health of the citizen. That's the main thing. And I think it's very wrong to bring in Bakrid and compare it. Don't bring religion into it. What's important is the health of the person, the well-being of the person.
Pinky Anand, would you agree with Soli Sorabji that it's unfortunate, at least in social media, this whole narrative that's being built about, you know, trying to look at it from the communal prism? Surely the court didn't weigh in the fact that this is a Hindu festival or a Muslim festival or a Christian festival. The court looked at it from the point of view of its impact on pollution and took an informed view. Isn't it unfortunate that we have sort of lowered the narrative and trying to look at it from a communal prism?
I don't think there's any concept of communalism in this entire judgment. I think the court has applied its mind to what it considers to be right of life and the right of the court to safeguard that for the common public. I mean, the degree of proportionality and other issues may be in question, but I don't think in any manner there would be a linkage between the judgment and any communal aspect. It is just incidental that burning of firecrackers at this point of time is linked with a Hindu festival, but there is no communal angle to it whatsoever.
We're going to take a quick breather to get a view in from a caller, from a viewer of ET Now. Dr. Anshul Jain calls in from Delhi with his view on this debate right here on ET Now. Dr. Jain, thanks for calling us here at ET Now. What's your view on this debate?
Sandeep, congratulations for taking up this topic. It is so important for us. Now, I must make two comments. One, that if our public was so educated and so considerate about all of us together, they would not fire these crackers at all. Already we are seeing a steep bump in number of patients who are coming with the cough and, respiratory problems. Why do we need all data and all these, people who are sitting on your panel to come and talk of law, religion, and somebody is talking about religion burning the bodies? Can't you have some sense into it? And I must congratulate our ex-Auditor General, Shri Sorabji, for speaking so nicely. Let us forget about these laws and, the problems which Supreme Court's order is creating now. Money is not important. It's the life which is important. All of us are dying here. Delhi is terrible. We need to instill sense into the public. Let us all come forward and save the life of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jain. That's a view from one of our viewers. But, you know, viewers, I can tell you this is a very, very polarizing debate. We've got mixed reactions from viewers all across the country. Many have taken offense to this verdict, but many, like Dr. Jain, believe this is the right thing that the court has done by stepping in and, you know, giving importance to human life above all else. But let's now talk about the economic impact as well, because along with health and pollution, at stake is also, that there is a massive economic impact as well. Like we were telling a short while ago, over 1,000 crores of an industry is at stake, assuming this ban sort of plays out in other states as well. Also, 3 lakh people get direct employment from the fireworks industry, and about 5 lakh people are indirectly employed. Madhavan Narayanan, should we just turn a blind eye to the entire ecosystem that's built around this industry? Is that of no consequence? Third-party rights have been created. You know, there are so many traders who are stuck with this inventory, who now have no choice, nothing to do. What about all of that? Who's going to weigh in the cost of all of that?
Let me get a bit rhetorical. You know, we cannot say that to keep soldiers employed, we need to have wars. So this is a bit of a stretched analogy, but it's important to emphasize this point, because although livelihoods are at stake, although jobs are at stake, we have been discussing this issue for several years now, and therefore both the governments and the traders and the businesses involved in this should have themselves taken a long-term view. I look at the irony of the fact that the government is promoting wind power, solar energy and electric vehicles, and you can't see your own backyard where you have pollutant industries employing lakhs of people. There should be foresight and planning to go through these things. I agree that looking at any issue in a sudden short-term way will suddenly create pictures that are not appropriate. So therefore, it's important to look at the trade-offs involved. Are we going to trade off health issues, and are we going to kill children of tomorrow with pollution because we want to save a few jobs today? It is life versus livelihood, and that too in a long-term, long-grinding policy and administrative framework. And therefore, the government ought to take some responsibility for not acting. You know, inaction is as bad as action in some circumstances. So there are errors of omission involved in this. We should be asking, if the courts had intervened last year itself, what was the government doing for the past 12 months? Why was it not concerned while talking about electric vehicles? Come on, we have to have a sense of priority, and that has been lacking on this. And I also believe that, you know, some of these issues, if we can maybe discuss religious issues later, but I think there is nothing more sacred than life and health.
Nothing more sacred than life or health. There is a right to life, but like Mr. Kanchan Gupta said, there's also a question of right to livelihood, the question that Sandeep was asking. Sivakasi produces about 85% of all firecrackers sold all across the country, an estimated loss of about 1,000 crore rupees, 8 lakh jobs directly and indirectly in this firecracker industry. Can we at all afford job erosion when we're not really creating jobs? I mean, that's also one part of this entire argument. Mr. Gupta, you want to take this?
Yeah, then the courts should have asked the government to take a position. In fact, even without the courts prompting the government must now take a position. Are we going to proscribe and prohibit fireworks and firecrackers in this country? I mean, it would be utterly stupid to do so all over the world. I mean, we would be, I guess, the only country which prohibits it. So that is out of the question. Now, if you are not going to prohibit and proscribe fireworks and firecrackers, then if there is an industry, how do you control that industry into producing stuff? I mean, I'm sure, I mean, and I'm told that there is enough work that has been done to reduce the smoke emission levels of firecrackers, to make them go up to a particular height where, which does not impact people on the ground. So these are things which can be looked into. And of course, there is this question, I mean, how do you sell it? How do you take it to the consumer? Yes, there have to be controls and restrictions on that too. But I mean, in the final analysis, you cannot just say that just because I don't like firecrackers and I without any data, without any numbers at my disposal, I have come to the conclusion that firecrackers pose a certain threat to my right to life. Therefore, I shall kill somebody else's right to livelihood. Now, that is not how a democracy works.
Okay.
And which takes me back to the first point that I made,
right,
that it is not for the courts to decide. The courts are there just to safeguard the constitutional rights, but it is for the executive to create policy and to execute that policy without, of course, infringing on those rights.
Okay, fair enough. Let's take it back to Raja Singh Chelladurai, MD of Jumbo Fireworks, who's been with us as well, and he's a stakeholder. Mr. Chelladurai, thanks for joining us back on ET. Now, I want you to briefly tell our viewers what is the, what are the next course of action of the industry? How big a hit is this going to be? How concerned are you that other courts in other states may also follow suit? You could have an adverse order coming in from other states as well. And what do you think will be the overall impact of this order?
Sir, if the judiciary is going to be very strong with their decision or judgment, I think we should have a national consensus. Selective religious bodies can be asked whether it is necessary or not. And I feel it is depriving the children of their entertainment. So this is my main point. We are depriving the children who enjoy Diwali, and I feel it is this should be reversed in the interest not only for the national entertainment but also for the industry, which is poised for growth in future. And as you see, China is exporting all over the world, and there's a great lot of employment and revenue for the government. So government should also look into these points. They can regulate, but they should not ban. This is my request.
Indeed. Regulate but not ban is the word that's coming in from the that perhaps stands to lose about 1,000 crore rupees due to this ban. We've got Shantanu Chakravarti, a caller, joining in all the way from Bengaluru. Thanks very much, Shantanu, for being with us. Go ahead, make your view.
Yeah, good evening to the panel. My question.
A great evening to you too, Shantanu. Carry on.
My question to the panel is that why couldn't we resort to a regulatory framework like that is done for the auto industry, wherein the emission norms are defined, and like it happened earlier this year, where it went from Bharat Stage 4 to Bharat Stage 6, and then things go on with a lot of planning that goes into it. And it's not just firecrackers. Any source of pollution should have a framework or a plan, a proper plan to say that these are the norms that are to be followed. Because, yes, we do accept that things are changing. I mean, when I was a child, bursting a firecracker wouldn't pollute the entire world. But the thing is now, with things changing, I think it's time we lay down some norms which are specific to any polluting industry, and then say that we will follow this in a phase-wise manner to eradicate the pollution altogether, but not at the word go say that there's a ban and there's a zero emission from the word go. I think that hampers a lot.
All right, Shantanu. Yeah, Shantanu, that's a good point and a good question. Kanchan Gupta, you want to take that question? It's a valid question. You know, when we were children, we could have afforded to burn those crackers because the emission levels or the pollution levels weren't so high. Things have changed today. I want my children to burn cracker, but I am still worried about the air that they will breathe in. You know, have a regulatory body that will decide on emission, like it is done for auto, emission norms are decided. Have a regulatory body that will perhaps grade these firecrackers.
Yeah, that's precisely the point which I was making, that you have this industry. It is a pretty big industry. It's a prosperous industry, and you just can't kill the industry because you don't like firecrackers. So, and there's now enough technology available, enough science which is available, which can be used for regulating the emission, the polluting emissions of these firecrackers. Just like, you know, once upon a time, dyes were used for dyeing cloth, which used to cause huge amount of pollution through effluences that were pumped into rivers. Now, those dyes were changed. Now, today you use dyes which do not cause pollution. So, similarly, today you need a regulatory, of course, you can call it a regulatory framework, you can call it a list of compliances, and the industry must follow those norms, and the industry must be encouraged, and if necessary, the industry can be helped to acquire modern technology and build in systems and build in checks that will ensure that pollution levels are controlled, and if there are any pollutants, they are not released into the air that we breathe.
Okay.
But again, you know, I keep on making this point that imposing a ban, and that too the court just steps in and imposes a ban. That is not how democracies work. That is how tin pot dictatorships work. I wake up one morning and I don't like the look of something and I say that, okay, I ban it. But that way does not lie solution. That way lies conflict.
Okay, fair enough. Madhavan Narayan, I'm going to let you have the last word, and I want you to see this in the context of some of the other things that have happened of late. You've had, Nitin Gadkari say that, petrol, diesel banane walon ko hum bulldozer chala denge. If you see this in the context of a lot of other things that have taken, and look, no one's going to dispute the fact that we need to move towards a greener economy. We need to move towards, a cleaner economy and all that. But in some ways, do you believe that India is, probably a third world country that still wants to have first world sensibilities when it comes to issues like environment and clean energy? And is that something that we can afford? Is that something that could potentially come in the way of rapid economic growth of this country?
In fact, we need to do it more, Sandeep. It's important to remember that 1 billion people transitioning to higher standards of living while clinging on to outdated technologies or haphazard industrial practices is a recipe for disaster. We may not be able to use a Gandhian term, we may not become 16 Anna Scandinavia, but we should at least become a 4 Anna Scandinavia. At least we should consider to be ways to become as green as possible. Let me get a bit more specific on this. We seem to be regulating ourselves only when it comes to competition between big business entities such as telecoms or automobiles. Whereas whether it comes to tanneries or textiles or fireworks, small businesses are just allowed to flourish without any proper regulation. We need a proper sunset policy. We need a proper transformation policy with hand-holding where they will get incentives and disincentives. And today, let me doff my hat at the Nobel Prize winner Richard Thaler, who says, who's famous for his nudge theory, which says that behaviors of consumers and others can be altered by giving a nudge. He's often talked about negative nudges. The Supreme Court can be seen as giving a positive nudge in favor of an alteration of behavioral economics in India. We should actually doff our hat to the Supreme Court and let's simply think green collectively and not just talk in elitist terms. Livelihood issues are also environmental issues. Anil Agarwal and Sunita Narayan have systematically proved it over the past 35 years that environmental issues are not an elitist concern in India. Everything from firewood to coal to gobar gas involves pollution issues. We have to think green in a very Indian way.
Indeed. We have to think green in an Indian way, but with that, I've come to a closure on this show. Completely run out of time here. Thanks each one of you for being with us. Soni Sarabji, Madhavan Narayan, Kanchan Gupta, Sanjeev Bhasin, Pinkian, and then Mr. Chanadar Rai. Thanks very much for being with us. I think in closing, we have to say a blanket ban is perhaps not a solution to some of the problems in a country as complex as ours. It should be more self-elective, but how many Indians are conscientious of that? The other big point that we would like to make is India is a third world country. Can we have those first world aspirations, and can the green lobby really come in the way of our development? The answer lies with each one of you. We hope you will have a happy and safe Diwali. But yes, the Supreme Court has come with a blanket ban, and it has vertically divided opinions on both sides of the spectrum.
Thanks for being with us in this fascinating debate on ET. Now up next is Top 10 at 10. Keep it with your favorite channel.